A manhunt in Summit County. Here you can help police find a man considered armed and dangerous who may have helped kill a woman's husband. And then President Trump fires Attorney General Pam Bondi. Hear what his sources say led to that abrupt cabinet change. And then wildfire restrictions now in place. See the new rules for one county here in Utah and the penalties for breaking them.
Live and streaming, this is KSL News Now.
Of course, this and more, of course, on KSL News Now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Carlson. We'll get to all those stories here in just a minute. But I think a lot of us really looking ahead to the weekend here, Matt. I mean, you can't focus away from Easter right there and how great the weather's going to be.
Oh, yeah. You know, we got the storm out of the way, and now it's time for an Easter egg hunt. I got some nice weather dialed up. You're looking at temperatures starting cold, though, this morning. So don't be fooled by it. You're going to have that coat. Dress the kids for a chilly start, but by afternoon, bearable. Now, the further into the weekend you go, the warmer it will be. In fact, Easter Sunday, we're in the mid and upper 60s. 70s prevail as we head through the early and middle part of next week, only to cool back down for a potential storm late next week. So there you go. Cold front now working into Denver. It's got some snow for the Rockies. But you'll notice here in Utah, well, we've had some cloud cover, maybe a flurry in the mountaintops, but it's nothing special. What you will notice is the cold air. Temperatures running a solid 15 to almost 20 colder than yesterday morning. So the cold front made its mark. You're going to head out the door to 30s. 31 in Provo, 36 in Salt Lake, a 32 in Logan. Ooh, 27 in Fillmore. That's a brisk morning. 28 in Price and a 47 in St. George. Now the forecast for today does call for highs up in the upper 40s. But then we warm nicely. We'll get to those warmer temperatures in just a few. Brian?
Sounds good. Will do. Thank you much there, Matt. All right, we're in breaking news out of Salt Lake City this morning. We're learning one person was sent to the hospital for a police shooting with the SWAT team. Police say it happened last night near South Temple and 800 East. The SWAT was there serving a high-risk arrest warrant. Now, at some point, things escalated. The suspect was shot and taken to the hospital. That person is expected to survive. Unified Police are now investigating the shooting. And then search is on for a man considered armed and dangerous who investigators believe may have been involved with the murder of a man in Midvale. The victim's wife already under arrest. News specialist Tyrese Boone joins us live to explain who investigators are looking for. All right, Tyrese, what do we know?
Good morning, Brian. Now, deputies say that man was killed while he was sleeping, and they're currently looking for the man who they believe was responsible for this crime. Now, investigators say they identified the man as 31-year-old Francisco Morales, and they say that he was driving a maroon Honda Civic with the Utah plate number 5ETH0. Deputies say they are continuing to follow leads as they work to track him down.
And this was a blunt force trauma situation. Anyone that is capable of doing something like that is certainly someone who we would urge folks to stay away from and call law enforcement if they do encounter him.
Now, investigators say the victim's wife, 41-year-old Reina Chavez Sandoval, remains in custody as the investigation continues. Now, deputies say Morales' whereabouts are unknown at this time, but if you know any information or if you happen to see his car, feel free to please reach out to the Salt Lake City Police Department. Reporting live, Tyrese Boone, KSL 5 News. Back to you.
Thanks for the update, Tyrese. And a 14-year-old boy faces multiple felony charges, accused of crashing a stolen car, and that killed 2 children and injured 8 others. That crash happened last Friday night. Investigators say the boy hit a police car and then crashed into a second car. He faces 2 counts of murder along with aggravated assault and theft. The Weber County Attorney's Office says his initial court appearance expected to happen in juvenile court. Then health inspectors, now health experts, urging everyone to get vaccinated against measles if you're not already. Exposure to new cases keeps popping up at Utah restaurants, grocery stores, and now at the University of Utah. Data from the CDC shows Utah is one of the higher case counts in the country. So far, 559 people in Utah have been diagnosed with measles. More than 200 of those cases in Washington County alone. Measles now one of the most infectious diseases.
90-some-odd% of people who are unvaccinated who come into contact with someone with measles will get measles. That's how contagious it is.
Now, doctors say the vaccine is safe. It is 93% effective against the measles with the first dose, and then that bumps up to 97% with the 2 recommended doses. And one man and two teenagers were hurt in a fiery crash in a side-by-side there in Washington County. According to the sheriff's office, their UTV hit a berm and then tipped over near Hilldale. You can see what happened after. The fuel from the off-road vehicle spilled out and caught fire. Authorities say the man in his 50s had minor injuries, and the teenagers were taken to the hospital with burns. A woman in her 40s was also in that vehicle but was not hurt. And the Department of Public Safety has now identified the man killed last Friday in a police shooting there on I-15. Officers say Sayed Musavi there of Sandy hit a trooper's car as he was traveling near 3500 South. They say Musavi then pulled out a knife, which then prompted the trooper to shoot him. The trooper wasn't hurt. That investigation is ongoing. Then a firefighter was hurt last night fighting a fire in Mill Creek. That fire broke out last night at a commercial building near 3900 South and Main Street. Firefighters with Unified, South Salt Lake, and Murray all responded. They put out the fire in about 15 minutes, but one firefighter got hurt in the eye, and they were taken to the hospital. The cause of the fire here is under investigation. In your fire watch, so far, Utah has already had 84 wildfires this year, and none of them caused by nature. The fire season just getting started, with most of Utah in either severe or extreme drought. That's why Uinta County has now banned open burning through May 31st. There's a few exceptions for designated facilities, permitted burns, and official firefighting activities. But anyone who violates the ban faces jail time and a fine. Then in northern Utah, snow caused some trouble in Logan Canyon. The Utah Highway Patrol says a semi and a snowplow clipped each other, traveling the opposite directions. The road was closed for a time to be able to handle that, but is now back open this morning. Minor injuries were reported from that crash. I know the snow did cause a little bit of issues out there on the road yesterday, and it wasn't just Logan Canyon that got it, but we were definitely glad to see that we had some snow yesterday, Matt.
Yes, you know, it's just something we haven't seen much in the valley this year, so to see it in early April, it was a nice little treat, especially coming off that March heat wave. Brighton Resort still trying to turn off the spigot. Some light flurries right now as the snowcats and the groomers are getting things ready for skiers. That cold front is now into Colorado. On the backside, well, flurries in the mountains, and of course in the valleys it's cloudy. We may see a flurry out there, but all in all, the big talker is the cold air aloft that's moving in. This is a wind map of what's happening at upper levels. Cold air moving in from Canada. That's going to keep us at 49 today for a daytime high. That's at least 10 below the normal. 52 in Blanding and 70 in St. George. It's a beautiful day down in the southern half. But as we head through Easter weekend, look at what happens along the Wasatch Front. We're going to warm nicely. Saturday, 60 degrees, sunshine. Easter Sunday, how about a 67-degree day with mostly sunny skies? That is really, really nice with whatever you got planned for the weekend.
Looking forward to it. Thank you much there, Matt. Longtime Trump ally Pam Bondi now out as Attorney General, replaced, at least temporarily, by the president's former personal attorney. President Trump posting that Bondi is, quote, a loyal friend, but that she'd be moving to an important new job in the private sector. However, multiple sources have told NBC News that the president's frustrations with Bondi have been growing, claiming that he felt Bondi was not executing his vision of bringing cases against his political opposition, as well as investigations into his debunked claims of widespread voter fraud. But perhaps most notably over Bondi's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Bondi posted to her own social media social account saying she was, quote, thrilled to continue fighting for the president in her new role. And then just across the cabinet, the newly installed Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin now already delivering on promises he made during his confirmation. Mullin has changed former Secretary Kristi Noem's review policy requiring top approval for contracts that exceed $100,000. He will now require all contracts more than $25 million to be approved by DHS Deputy Secretary. Mullin's also reviewing all immigration detention warehouse projects across the country, including one here in Utah, and putting them on pause. The Senate has unanimously approved a bill to partially reopen the Department of Homeland Security. The measure funds at least parts of the agency, but leaves out money for Immigration's Enforcement and Border Patrol. It now heads back to the House, which rejected it in favor of a different funding bill just last week. It's still unclear when the House will vote, both chambers currently on recess. And more from that administration, this time from DHHS, tracking down and cracking down on certain chemicals in our water. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says they're launching STOMP, a $144 million program that will measure and remove microplastics from the human body.
We are focusing on three questions: what is in the body, what's causing the harm, and how do we remove it? And we're answering them in that order.
And the announcement comes as microplastics and pharmaceuticals will be added to the Environmental Protection Agency's contaminant list, joining forever chemicals like PFAs. The agency says this is the first time they'll be a priority, calling it a direct response to Americans' concerns about what they're eating or drinking. And the federal trial of Luigi Mangione has been postponed yet again. Mangione, accused of fatally shooting United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson back in December of 2024. Mangione initially going to start his state trial in June. However, on Wednesday, two judges delayed both his state and federal trials to September and October. Now the judge has pushed it back again, with a jury selection slated to begin now in January of 2027. Mangione has pled not guilty to all charges in both cases. And lawyers for former BYU football player Parker Kingston have now withdrawn themselves from the case. It's where he faces rape charges. Kingston was expected to appear in a St. George courtroom yesterday, but that preliminary hearing was postponed to April 23rd. Right now, he still has at least one attorney representing him. The victim says the assault happened in February last year. And since his arrest, Kingston has been kicked off the BYU team and removed as a student. Tracking NASA's mission to the moon. Right now, Artemis 2, almost 40,000 miles from home, and the astronauts joining an elite group of just 28 people taking in a sight like no other. They can now see the entire Earth with their own eyes. In their first interview from space, they described the moment it happened.
But you can see the entire globe from pole to pole. You can see Africa, Europe, and if you looked really close, you could see the northern lights. It was the most spectacular moment, and it paused all four of us in our tracks.
Now, it's pretty amazing. Now, since you need to be about 22,000 miles away from the Earth just to take in the whole planet, the first people to do it were the crew of Apollo 8, and pretty much the same mission as this one. The astronauts here broke in the orbit of the Earth last night, now well on their way to the moon, but it's still more than 200,000 miles away. This weekend, they'll review how they'll capture those images during the lunar flyby and then practice putting their spacesuits on just in case of an emergency. But you can't beat those views from space out there, Matt.
That's pretty cool. To see the northern lights, too.
Right.
Wow, what a package deal. Yeah, Godspeed for them who are up there. Hopefully everything goes well. Hey, Preston, Idaho, we've got blossoms on some of the trees and snow coming down yesterday. A clashing of seasons, a revisit of winter for a moment. Some of the rain totals across the Wasatch. Wellsville, we've had 1.60, big drink of water. Kaysville, 1.58, about 1.5 inches for Spanish Fork. Cottonwood Heights did 1.19, but East Cottonwood Heights and into Sandy on the bench picked up about 2 inches of snow in spots. 8200ths in Salt Lake City, Vernal was 7600ths, and Beaver about 6/10. The snowfall, impressive. 30 inches roughly there for the Cottonwood Canyons. Park City at 9,000 feet, 14 inches, and Deer Valley, 12 inches, with Bryan Head down south doing about 7. Okay, low pressure is into Montana. Cold front into Colorado. On the backside, cold, dry air for today. You'll notice partly cloudy skies. We are dealing with heavier cloud cover this morning, but by afternoon, should break. Central Utah, southern Utah, today looks great, sunny skies, though the temperatures are down a little. We rebound tomorrow with sunshine, and then headed into Sunday, high clouds start to stream back in. A beautiful Easter Sunday, but this is more ominous than what's actually going to happen, just some high clouds. So if you have plans for an Easter egg hunt, having family in town, or maybe you're headed to conference, well, great weather on Saturday. Both sessions dry. 40s for the morning, but 50s in the afternoon. Sunday, definitely the warmer day. Look at that afternoon session at 63 degrees. Looks good. Central Utah, you are dialed up for some low 50s today. Green River and out there towards Fremont, you're going to be in the 50s and 60s. 62 in Kanab and 75 in Mesquite. Moab, you are 60 degrees today. The Easter Jeep Safari looks like great weather. If you're headed out to Delta, maybe you're going to do some dune riding out there for Easter weekend. Hey, going to be some great weather. I've got 50 in Sandy today. St. George, you got a warming trend, 70 to 83. That Easter weekend, man, it looks delightful. Beautiful weather holds on through the 7-day forecast. Got a 76 next Thursday. Wasatch Front, 49 to 60. Easter Sunday, 67. And to follow, Oh, 70s. Looks great. You got a 63 next Thursday. Starts to fall off there with a couple of storms trying to move into the Intermountain West, Brian.
Yeah, you can't have great weather every day. Thank you much there, Matt. All right, some breaking news just into the newsroom. We've learned that the second suspect has now been arrested for the murder of a man in Midvale. Police booking documents show 31-year-old Francisco Morales was arrested overnight at his home in Layton. That's the suspect that police were looking for in the report that Tyrese Boone just gave us a few minutes ago. Investigators say the victim's wife, 41-year-old Reina Chavez Sandoval, also remains in custody as the investigation continues. We'll, of course, continue to track these breaking developments and share any updates on KSL TV on our website, ksltv.com. Several freeway lamps are closing in the Salt Lake Valley over the next couple of months, and UDOT wants drivers to know now so you can plan ahead. The first ones start Monday near the Salt Lake Airport. UDOT expanding construction work there on the west belt of I-215, either replacing or repairing a total of 30 bridges. So through spring and summer, here every free ramp on I-215 and I-80 in Salt Lake will close for an extended period of time. They plan on staggering the construction so all those ramps don't close all at once. So starting Monday morning, you're looking at the list there at 6 a.m. UDOT will close the ramps from Redwood Road to westbound I-80, then both northbound and southbound to I-215. The ramps will shut down for about 30 days. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have been the second most Republican religious group in the country for decades. But a new study shows that more members of the church are now shifting to the political left. This graph shows the data recently released by the Cooperative Election Survey, which is considered the largest academic survey of American elections. The number of Latter-day Saints that consider themselves a Democrat shifted from 33% in 2007 to 52% in 2025. Nearly all other faith demographics saw an opposite shift, with members leaning more Republican. Researchers say the shift in Latter-day Saints is likely due to more college education or to how some conservative values have shifted from Christian teachings. And the church's General Conference, it starts tomorrow and goes through Sunday. You can catch all the General Conference sessions over on KSL TV. And make sure you keep your TV on between sessions as we air some special content all weekend. One of them is like this here from Brazil. A rising generation of young artists from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints now touching hearts through music. Many of them also part of the Tabernacle Choir's world tour that stopped in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Elder Ulysses Suarez, a member of the church's Quorum of the 12 Apostles, is from Brazil. He traveled with the choir and says the youth are pushing the work forward in remarkable ways.
The youth of our day will bring this gospel toward the centuries and will bring joy and unity in the hearts of all people.
KSL News specialist Dan Rascone took a closer look at the movement as well as the music. You can catch his documentary this Sunday during General Conference. Thanks for joining us on this segment of KSL News Now. We're going to leave you with a live look of Salt Lake City waking up on this Friday morning. A lot to take in there. We see those clouds kind of rolling out, the sun making its way in for a beautiful Easter weekend. Get up to date on all the latest information, news, weather, and traffic on the free KSL Plus app. We'll see you right back here on Monday morning.